Wow, sorry about that, folks. All right, hi and welcome to all those that are just joining us right now. Please take a moment, like and share this video. Be greatly appreciated. We are here at the Alaska School of Government at Real Life Church here in Palmer, Alaska. They have the Wasilla-Palmer City Council debates that are going on here tonight. It should be getting started here real shortly. I left a list of all the candidates that are in the Wasilla and Palmer areas and what seats they are running for. Palmer currently has 6 seats that are open and that they are trying to fill. Many of them have 2 people running in the same seat for city council, so it'll be really interesting to see what goes on there and hear their debates here tonight. And then we got Wasilla has 2 seats open. Only one of those 2 seats has more than one candidate running in their district or their area, and so you'll get to only hear a debate between 2 of them, and the third one will just be able to give their answers based upon their geographics for how they feel and why you should elect them and vote for them. And so take a moment at this time while we're waiting for them to get started to like and share this video, which would be greatly appreciated. I know the social media channels out there right now are doing a really good job of not sending out those notifications like they should be doing. And it's really interesting to see how many people out there are getting notified, especially here on Facebook. Facebook has done a pretty good job of just sending out what they call a notification and absolutely no information attached to it. And then when you click on it and to open it up, let's say your phone was closed, this is how I'm doing it, and then you can't get to see what's even there, and their notifications don't show it because they want to, of course, show you something that's a day old in your feed instead of what was currently just posted as for this live video. And so it's their way of making sure things like what happened at Martha's Vineyard down there in California don't get spread as far and wide as their different things are happening out there, to actually show the hypocrisy of one side's views in a sanctuary city when it comes to actual illegal immigration finding their way onto their doorsteps. It's really different, and every time they say migrant or immigrant and they forget that illegal part, that's just mainstream media whitewashing what's really going on. So again, take a moment, like and share this video, plus go to our website, Politadick.com, and click that support button so we can make it to more debates like this one.
Take your seats, please. We're a little bit light tonight for those of you that haven't been here. We generally have about 2 or 3 times as many people, but not that many people vote in the city of Palmer, and in the city of Wasilla there's not much competition. So anyway, so we will, now my husband will come and he will do an opening prayer, and then we'll have the pledge, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And next week we will have the candidates from Senate District N, which is Senator Wilson, and I thought he was here. He was here. He's here someplace. Anyway, so it's him and Stephen Wright and Scott Clayton that are running, and so all 3 of them will be. All 3 of them will be here next Monday night, and for the debate. And then right now we don't have anybody for October and December, but I did these little survey things, so I'd like your guys' input on who. We still have standing invitations out to Governor Dunleavy, thanks Ian, and to Mayor Pierce, and also to Doug Massey. We'd had some requests for Doug and Mike Shower to do a debate together, and as of yet, Doug hasn't accepted that invitation. We also extended another invitation to Sarah. As you know, she was here once, and for her and Nick, but I got a text back from her staff saying that she wouldn't do a debate unless it was all three of them, and and I don't know. We have never had, that I know of, a pro-choice candidate that has addressed us because just of our strong feelings regarding right to life. And I don't know that she would even, be available. So anyway, so I need some wisdom for that. If you have some thoughts on that, let me know and I'll work on it. But we still have the borough assembly candidates yet that we haven't heard from, and the school board candidates. And then we do have, like in our district, District 25, which is this area, there are 2 Republicans running, Delina and Larry Wood, and we have not had them yet either, so that would be a possibility. And then, of course, we could always reach out again to Kelly Shabaka and to Nick to see if they would come individually. So those are some ideas, or if there's something else. The other question, we did have a watch party at the night of the primary. I don't know if you want to have another watch party the night of the general or not. So you'll see there is, and we didn't schedule anything for the first Monday in November because like we did in August, you should either be phone banking for your favorite candidate or standing on a street corner with a flag, even if it is in your local district or your local neighborhood or Parks Highway or whatever. So so we didn't schedule anything for that. And so we just will have one time in November and then a couple times in December. And December, of course, and maybe the end of November too. By that time, the election will be over and there will be some people that maybe will be in some leadership that we can have come. And then also, starting next year, we'll probably go back to some more of the basic type things like how do you run for office? And we will probably ask some people that both won their campaign as well as lost their campaign okay, what did you learn? If you lost, are you going to do it again? And just have some bones type instruction how an idea becomes law, which we did before, and that was pretty well received. And then also, one of the things that CJ and I have been looking at is some kind of legislative tracker system where, so you say to me, okay, I'm interested in anything that has to do with the Second Amendment, or you have interested in any law that would be regarding abortion or homeschooling or something like that. And we will just ask a bunch of you as volunteers because, there'll probably end up being like 500 bills introduced. Or, say if you're interested in trying to get rid of ranked choice voting. And so we would then notify you, okay, Senator so-and-so has introduced a bill to repeal ranked choice voting. And, so send the email and let them know, call them if you're in favor of that or not. Watch for the legislative hearings, call in and be sure to testify and things like that. So after the election, it's going to go back more to the code school, the education, the motivation, and the activation. That's the mission statement for the school. And so we will be going back to some of those bare bones things and what's going on both at the assembly and the school district. I'm sure that there will be plenty of topics to keep us interested in things going on because there will be lots of changes there, I think. So anyway, I'm ready, honey. You ready? If you'll all rise, my husband's going to do a prayer.
Well, this is 2 Chronicles 7:14, and it was prayed by President Reagan, and it certainly bears repeating here. And so it goes like this: if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and turn their face from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. And you say, well, I don't want to know about my wicked ways. Well, your doubt and unbelief, as in my case, the Lord rebuked me for my doubt and unbelief. You undo your prayers through the things you say lots of times, the things we say. So we have to put a guard on our mouths. So hopefully we can see our land healed. I don't see it in the natural, but I see it by the gift of faith. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
So you'll go ahead and join with me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so Ian is running for the only seat for the city of Wasilla that is contested, and his opponent let me know yesterday that she was going to be out of town, so she's not here tonight. So what I'm going to have Ian do is come up and introduce himself, and we'll ask him some questions from you, and then we'll jump over into the city of Palmer. So Ian, you want to come up?
Hello? Nope.
Push on it. Up. Is that on now?
Is it on now?
Okay, Daniel?
It looks like it's on.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello? Okay.
There you are.
Technical difficulties. My name's Ian Crafton. I'm running for Wasilla City Council, Seat E. Like Mayor Edna said, it's the only seat that is currently contested. I'm the only I will say city council races are nonpartisan, but all politics are partisan politics because people have a voice and opinions. I am the only Republican running for that seat. My opponent is not. I just like to remind people about that. I guess a few things about what I'm looking to do or hoping to do is there's three concerns that I've had in mind about Wasilla. The first one is our growth. I really want to see more businesses coming in there. I'm a huge advocate for small businesses. I'm not opposed, of course, to big businesses coming in because it creates job, it creates growth one way or another. Along with that growth, I want to see a more community-based feel in Wasilla. I was talking with a gentleman today, and I hate comparing us to Anchorage, but when you go to Anchorage downtown, you see people walking around. When you go to Palmer, you see people walking around. In Wasilla, we don't really see people walking around right now. And so I want to create more of that community feel where you see people in the city and you feel like that city's alive. Along with some of these changes I want to see is our traffic improvement and our roadway systems improved. If you've been in Wasilla any time here recently, and honestly even any time of the day, I've been noticing how bad our traffic is getting more and more. I'm a big advocate for our alternative corridor, as what it's been referred to, as we're looking to find a bypass through Wasilla so that people either going from the north to the south or vice versa can bypass Wasilla if they don't need to. I feel that's a very large portion of our traffic concerns right now. Along with also just wanting to pave all of our roads. We're already on that path, but I want to continue encouraging that path and making that a priority, that all of our roadways get paved, and also start working towards anytime we pave roadways that we're starting to add sidewalks alongside of that. It creates that walkability that I'd like to see in Wasilla. Thirdly is our activities. All too often we're going into Anchorage to do something, and again, businesses coming to Wasilla is going to create more for us to do that. I mean, look at things like the Extreme Fun Center. But overall, one of my visions that I'm looking at is something like imagine Wonderland Park and bring it inside for us. I would love to have a place that we can take our children that's inside, that's safe. Anchorage created one. It's working phenomenally for them. I hate comparing us to Anchorage, but I want to take their good ideas and bring them out here. There are good things that they have done, and that's one of those things. It's a very safe and inclusive thing for our children to be able to do out here, and that's just one of the first steps that we can start taking out there for us. So I don't have much, and I'd love to open it up for questions if anybody has questions for me.
Why don't you tell them you're a realtor and how long you've been a realtor or something like that?
Mayor Edna says, I've been a realtor. I have been one for 4.5-ish years now. Wasilla's been my home for just over 20 years now is how long I've been out here. I've watched it grow. When before Target, we had the Cottonwood Creek Mall and Got Shocks, if you remember that. Yeah, right. That's what I remember. So I've seen Wasilla grow, and I think there's two avenues that we can have of growth. We can grow in the right direction or the wrong direction, and I just really want to be an advocate to keep that going in the right direction. I guess a few other concerns that I've been discussing is our municipal code. We have a very heavy regulated landscaping code. It's probably the most common one people mention, and that's something I want to start amending. We need to roll back our regulations and open and pave the path for businesses to come in here and not have one person that's making the decision whether they can start a business or not. Somebody shouldn't control all the power, and if somebody does say no, or maybe you don't meet those regulations, can you still appeal that and get around that in some fashion? Say, hey, here's the problems, this is what you need to do to solve that problem. So.
Jessica has, anybody has a question, Jessica has a mic, okay?
When I first moved here from about 3 years ago, the signs were so bad, and they still are. The top of Seward Meridian and Bogart, there's no sign. You're new, it's really confusing, and I guess that might be the state controls that, but would you have any influence on that?
Signs as in like where the city
Street signs.
Street signs. Form of street signs, just speed.
The name of the street.
Oh, gotcha.
Like Seward, Meridian, and Bogart.
I gotcha. I see what you're saying.
There's so many places you stop and there's no street sign.
A lot of other roads that we have in Wasilla are maintained by the state. I want to see what we can do about trying to take a little bit more of that control back, or in the essence of, hey, we're going to go ahead and do this, and we're just going to send the bill off to the state and see if they'll just. Yeah, exactly.
Another question is, I was actually thinking of being on the city planning, and that very thing came up about the idea of a main city in Wasilla, and it's like we don't really have a home base there. It's all just spread out. So where would you kind of make the central part, or would you work with city planning on how to make some kind of a central area that feels kind of like home, a walking area? There's the park over on, what is it?
I did a park off Nelson there.
Yeah, that's further out though. It's not the main city area. So how would you do that?
The downtown area is from Lucille to Nelson, over to Yenlo right before Cars, as far north as the Bogard Nelson area, and then south to the Parks Highway. That's the rectangular shape of the downtown area. I want to not expand to the downtown area, but the walkability would go from Idita Park, which is the entire park there, the skate park, the bike path area, all of that. That's all Idita Park, and make it so you could either, I mean, honestly, I'd like you to be able to walk clear across the city if you had the ability, and it'd be safe and comfortable for you. But the main area would be going from like Wasilla Park over to, or not Wasilla Park, Wasilla Lake over to the Idita Park there. Create more of a walkability. I mean, we have sidewalks there, though it's just not, it doesn't have that walkability feel. There's too many cars, there's too many roadways, and so can we move some of these out of the way so that you're going to see more bikes and more people walking around there? Because right now the danger is that we have this suburban mindset, because Wasilla is so spread out, that so many cars come in, and that's just the easy way to do it. So that would be the idea. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, McDonald's is a real problem with all of that, but yeah, that's the problem is
No real feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got a question over here? Okay. Anybody else?
Sure. Hi. Hey, quick question on, you kind of touched on the topic that you're concerned, or you want to see not just one person within the city infrastructure making decisions on behalf of the city and the growth and what businesses can come in. But what is your intent, or how do you foresee influencing, strategizing, and including the people of Wasilla, the citizenry, in decision-making that goes on through the council?
I love that. I think, and I actually mentioned it back when we did our special, it's not a special election, it's a special selection when I was trying to get on the council at that point, was I felt that the city of Wasilla does not do well enough publicizing what's happening in Wasilla. I mean, we just learned of some activity that happens at the Menard Center that's for toddlers all the way up to 6 years old today. And it's been going on for how many years now? Yeah, turf time. There's just not enough outward presence, I feel, of the city. And so that's where I think it starts, is us being a little bit more aggressive, to use the term lightly, in telling people about what's happening. Getting it out there, because if we can tell you about it, then you can come in and at least advocate for it. That's the hardest thing, is people don't know what happens most of the time. Does that answer your question?
How you doing?
Good.
Good. So this is kind of a tough one, I guess. So what? This is something we struggle with in Palmer. We're struggling with lately. What about the homeless population? Do you have any ideas about what you can do to help mitigate it a little bit? I know we've seen a lot of overflow from Anchorage since they've closed the shelter. I just didn't know if you had any ideas about it.
I hate to say this, but I haven't noticed it as heavily out in Wasilla. That is, it's sad to hear that that's where they're going, is they're going to Palmer, not to Wasilla. I mean, we have a handful of guys that I see that frequent the same spot outside Fred Meyer, but we haven't noticed quite that big of a problem in the Wasilla area that I've noticed, at least. Yes?
You likened wanting to place something in Wasilla that was a covered area, and you likened it to something in Anchorage. What are you discussing?
So, do you know what Wonderland Park is, right?
Yes.
So, outdoor playground, basically.
Yes.
That is what we had, Anchorage created in there, was basically an outdoor playground, but they created an indoor version of it.
What's the name of it? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
I cannot remember the name of it. I did a super quick Google search is what found it for me. But basically, they had the ability that it was an enclosed area. Like, you couldn't go in there if you didn't even have a child with you. They couldn't put an age limit on there. And it was a free service that they offered for people. But it's an indoor playground would be the goal.
Is it on the south side of Anchorage?
I actually want to say it's in Fairview, if I remember correctly, which I found really interesting.
Okay. And there are quite a few homeless people, by the way, that live over by the Palmer, the Wasilla Library, and have lived there for years.
Yeah, I'm not saying that we don't have it.
Well, I'm not just saying there are other populations.
I mean, I've found that they do very well at hiding
Very well.
themselves. No matter what city you live in, there's always going to be a homeless population, unfortunately, to the degree of, hey, when do we have to start addressing this problem here?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Brendan, you obviously have something to say.
Yeah,
Well, the homeless situation in the valley, compared to Anchorage, I think we're doing a much better job with it. We have a company out here, I work for them, it's Valley Resource Services. They build apartment complexes, locked facilities, and the way you get in there, the number one reason of obtaining an apartment is homelessness. So they're building another one behind the one that I currently work at, and they've built a couple. There's one that's, I forget the name, but we call it in-low. It's right behind cars. Yeah. So what you're talking about by the library, that's like a hangout spot to try and get money. So most of the camps are kind of getting smaller because there's over 20 of them that live in the facility where I work. And it's actually working well. They've made their rent, and a lot of them have jobs now.
The other thing I always think about as well is every issue a government issue? Because every time we create it as a government issue, our governments get larger. And so can we, instead of us taking on the entirety of the issue, could we help pave the path for a private organization to take on that concern, so that our government is not getting larger, but we're advocating for a company to step in and take over whatever that concern is. If you see my Facebook page that I have running right now, a question I'd like to start raising, because again, one of the ways that we minimize traffic is through other modes of transportation. And some people brought up the question of, well, do you want to raise taxes to provide public transportation? No, that is not my concern, or my idea behind it. If that's what it takes, then that's not what we're going to do. Because that's again, raising government. I want to minimize our government. Can we pave the path for another company to step in place? Are we going to have to pay for some stuff to do that? Probably. Is it going to be a group effort between Wasilla, Palmer, and the borough? It's definitely going to be. We're probably going to have to bring the state into it as well. But it's a group effort that we can have to not only create more jobs, but also open up the private sector for more options there. Question keeps coming up for me. So, other questions?
Hi, I'm Mary, and I moved here in December, so pretty recent person here in this town of Wasilla, and I'm around Agate and by Lucille and Sheldon and that kind of, it's kind of outskirts.
Just outside Wasilla.
Right.
I'd be happy to answer the question.
So what I find is driving, and you guys probably all know this, but it seems like you really are forced to do Parks Highway. Because if you end up going, because if I'm ever going to Palmer, I'll get caught by that lake. There's a lake you got to get around if you go towards Palmer.
On the Selden side or the Parks Highway side?
So Selden goes across, with Parks is at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I
Then
don't
there's
know
Palmer.
north
So we
and
have
south
Parks,
too well, but
Palmer, Wasilla, and then the Selden Bogard extension.
Yeah.
That one actually runs from Church Road all the way into Palmer. That's actually one of the avenues that I would like them to, the state to explore more when it comes to our alternate route around Wasilla. Right now, they've narrowed it down to from Parks Highway south to the Fairview Loop side of things. And that road I feel has plenty of room for expansion. The problem is it's outside of the city of Wasilla.
well, what I was wondering is I'm always trying to avoid that traffic, going home traffic on Parks. It's just terrible, right? We all know it just backs up really, really bad. But there really is no other way unless you go back up around the lake to get to where I live.
You live off the Lucille area in Agate area there? I used to live off Agate, actually. For your area, again, I've driven in and out of Anchorage being a realtor a lot. Traffic time, hit Seward Meridian, go around to the Bogard. It's actually faster. I mean, we're talking a couple minutes, but I live on Church now. There is no alternate route to the other side of Wasilla right now. And do I sit in traffic or do I take the same amount of time to be able to continuously be driving in that
Right, that's the dilemma. That was one I just wanted to bring that attention. And is there any way to go over that lake, or has anybody talked about going over the lake?
The only one I'm thinking of is Wasilla Lake. That's the only one I could think of.
The one that's got the park there in the Wasilla area, that park.
Yeah, the Wasilla Lake is the one.
Is the Wasilla. Is there a way to get across that lake, or some plan or something?
Yeah, the problem about going over it is
That's what I'm
floodplains. Or there's also Lake Cecelia. We have a lot of our lakes are floatplain lakes.
Which you can't build over it then.
I mean, you'd have to shut it down, which that'd make a lot of people unhappy. So.
But if there was a way to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd have to stop it, and I'd be really hard pressed to do that to Wasilla Lake of all the lakes.
So basically, your idea would be to get that Parks Highway less crowded, and get traffic to go around there, which I'm all for that. The other second issue I have is crime. I just heard 3 guys and all wearing black on Machatna, which is not far, got out of their house, and then they burglarized the house pretty close just yesterday. So, I saw a car in front of my house, and it looked suspicious, but it ended up, I guess, living right across the street, but they stopped on the street for a while. So I'm already kind of nervous about the crime rate. I guess what's your ideas about crime? If you thought about that?
I think we never have enough police officers. I think that's always the basis of the issue and the basis of the concern. A lot of it comes down to that our troopers are spread too thin because, again, the city of Wasilla, our northern boundary is Spruce Avenue right there. So, which is Mulchatna, Spruce. Yeah, that is our northern boundary right there. So if you live on the north side of Spruce, but your address is Spruce, you're not in the city of Wasilla. But if you live on the southern side, you are. The city of Wasilla police officers will respond within a radius around Wasilla, but because it's outside their jurisdiction, unless it's a felony problem, they really can't do anything, which unfortunately burglary isn't always a felony concern. One of the things I am waiting on is I'm going to be doing a ride along with our police officers here, because I want to start having more of those conversations about what they feel is the problem. Those are the best people to talk to. They're the ones doing it on a daily basis. So again, it comes back to what can we do to incentivize more police officers to come on board? I mean, you see how the state troopers are advertising right now. There was it like $20,000 bonuses right now, I think, signing on to the state troopers.
So earlier you mentioned something about new construction and landscaping. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if you could expand on that a little bit more.
So right now our concern is the extent to which somebody has to landscape their property. I want to say it's almost in the 30% number. And so what I want to do is roll that back. There is no reason why it should be that heavily regulated when it comes to landscaping. I mean, I still want some type of landscaping code per se in place, because we don't want you to just do whatever you want and it all to be a bunch of asphalt and concrete. We want some aspect of greenery in the space, though what we're finding is that it is so heavily done that people aren't either building, or it's really just too costly, is a lot of times what it's coming down to, and so they're just not building and developing.
Thank you.
On that note, I will go ahead and say personally, we're involved in that new church going up there above Sears, and we had to put up $250,000 bond for the landscaping before we could proceed. And every year they're requiring us to do $63,000 worth of flowers and landscaping and things like that. So Ian's right on that is really
for a church too.
Obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Hello, Representative Eastman. It's way overbearing to business owners. Also, like our downtown overlay project that was started many years ago. I think it was 2015 is when it was implemented. They want this specific look about it. They say, hey, business owner, you have to pay every dime to be able to get your business to look like that, but we're going to tell you what it looks like. I'd be okay with that, but the city should say, hey, I'll chip in a portion of that cost to help you get it that way. If we want you to do something specifically, then we probably should be looking at trying to help them out there. The city of Wasilla doesn't charge our residents a property tax because we have sales tax. So we actually generally, I wouldn't say we have wasteful funds. We tend to have a little bit more excess funds that we're able to put into something. If you're following the city, we just approved a new grant program, and I think we're about to dump about $300,000 into Wassy, Vista Rose, and my house with it. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. My question is, what could we have done something to benefit those people and the community more and put that money somewhere else? It's always the question to be raised. Other questions?
So I'm a little confused as to your relationship with city planning, and that's who you're referring to regarding landscape and all this, correct?
So the City Planning Commission is the one that technically has to pass off on everything. They're the final signature on everything, but as a council member, I can review the municipal code, which is what it encompasses, and make alterations and suggestions to it to get it through.
And they'll listen to the city council, I guess.
Yes.
I guess they would, so, okay.
Hi, I just wondered what you did before you became a realtor.
I was a GCI customer service representative.
Okay, thank you.
So I've talked to people all over the state. Anything else?
Any last thing you'd like to say?
I will add, I've got little cards on the back table. There's a huge stack of them. It has all my contact information on it. On the back, there's a QR code, so if you're tech savvy, you can scan it. It'll take you to my website. Otherwise, the actual address is on the bottom there, Crafton for Alaska. This is also my personal cell phone number on here as well, so if you ever have a concern with Wasilla, I want to be that person that you can call and say, hey, I'm going to be able to talk to Ian about my concerns about the city of Wasilla. There's a bunch of them back there. I have plenty more, so if you want to grab a stack and you know people in the city of Wasilla, or you think they live in the city of Wasilla, go ahead and pass them out to them. I'd love to be able to talk to them about what I can help them do inside the city. Thank you guys. Thanks for your time. Date of election, October 4th, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow, is when it starts. Early voting, I believe, is going to start next week. I don't know what the exact day is, but it starts next week.
Okay, good. Thank you, sir. So next I'm going to ask the existing mayor of Palmer as well as a candidate for mayor of Palmer who's running unopposed and ask him to introduce himself and talk. You got your...
I was going to mention this.
Sure, absolutely. Anything you want to talk about? There you go, sir.
I've got a few of these. The city of Houston, Wasilla, and Palmer got together to put all of our city information for our elections October 4th. Because we're the little guys that everybody forgets about. And I had one guy I know at work say, oh yeah, I saw the people were waving signs. I knew that was election day. I said, I'll get you a paper. But we have some of those. That's something the cities decided to do together. Tell you a quick story. So some years back I was dating my wife, and she lived in Fairbanks and I lived in Palmer. I did a lot of trips back and forth. Fortunately I had a new car. But so I had people would ask, how long does it take to get there? And I said, well, that depends. Did you know your cruise control can work at any speed? But I tell that to me, one of the things that I guess I've kind of trying to kind of overcome with Palmer is it seems like we've been on cruise control for years. We've always done things this way. We're always going this way. I mean, when I remember first getting on council, I guess I should mention that. I've been on council, I think it's 16 years. Started in 96, I ran again in 97. I lost in 2000. I ran again in 2001. People kind of want to know, how come you spend so much time on city council? How can you do it? It's like, because I've lost more than everybody else. I keep coming back. But the questions we'd always ask is, well, did we do this last year? And what did Wasilla do? That was the main questions we'd ask. And I'm wanting to get us to be thinking about what we should be doing. I think one of the cruise control things that's happened is like the chamber. We used to have a pretty strong relationship with them, and then we were kind of ignoring them, and then, oh my, they stepped in it. And then we had to remind everybody, that wasn't us. But it's not to say we can't have a good relationship, that we're communicating with them. And that's, I think we need to work harder with the chamber and with other organizations and work, well, like this, where the cities, we've been working, I don't know, did you start the mayor-managers meeting, or has that been kind of going?
I think that was going on before, but not very well attended.
Yeah. So every month, the 3 cities in the borough get together with the mayors and managers just to talk about whatever anybody wants to bring to the table. And it's been good. I was encouraged I didn't have to attend all the time because I actually work full time. I've spent a lot of leave lately because to make these meetings I have to take leave so I can go to them. But that's one of the ones I've kind of prioritized, and I haven't missed very many. It's just at least to hear what's going on with the other cities and ways that we can cooperate, And as far as the things I want to see in the city, one of the things I'd like to see is we're going to have a couple of forums where we're going to talk about the railroad right-of-way runs right through town. How do we want to see that develop? We've started the conversation. The manager and I and a few others went to talk to the railroad and ask what's possible, and they said, well, write it down and we'll look at it. It's like, it was pretty open-ended. But as we have figured out, I'm not sure that Palmer minds change and wants tradition, but they want to be asked, just in case you're wondering. They want to be part of the discussion. So we're planning to have a couple of meetings where we can talk about it. I mean, I'm sure we won't agree on all the things, but I want there to be some public discussion. And that's one of the things I want to be seeing happening. And, okay. I try to be short-winded, so I run out.
You did start the homeless. If you want to talk a little bit about that, you instituted the
Microphone.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. She's prompting me. So what she said is the homeless. So I had people starting to ask me questions about homeless and how, what's available, what happens. And so I set up and had a meeting. I rented Turkey Red and invited a couple dozen people. I think about 3 dozen came.
Yeah,
And part of my thing was, especially with COVID, we've had these 2 years of weirdness. And I wanted to know, I know of some agencies that, dried up, quit, and others that just, moved back to Anchorage. And so I wanted to know what's available, because homelessness is a weird thing. I mean, there's different reasons people are homeless. And, if someone needs help, I think we should be trying to help them. I'm not sure the government should be trying to help them, because the government's slow, to say the least. But so I was trying to get discussion, trying to find out what we have going on, and we still, I also, as mayor, I feel an obligation to talk about things that are of concern, and my perspective is that of a Christian, and so to me, I have to have some kind of heart for how I work with the homeless. I have to. Otherwise, God's going to be kicking me and getting my attention. And I think of that for the city as well. I think that we need to figure out how do we compassionately help people. And again, my idea is to try to get lots of people talking about it, because, the government throwing money at it is not really going to be a fix. But I think the community needs to come up with things. And I'm still not sure. I've been asked to go to a few more meetings, and I will go. But I don't like meetings. I didn't get to be a politician to be in meetings. But that's just my personality and my background is I was a preacher's kid. So I sat in the back of church through a lot of meetings, and it's like, these could be half as long and still do just as much. And I think of government that way too. Should I open up for questions? Oh, hi.
Okay,
I don't believe the government should be paying for everything. I think we as a community need to reach out and help. And so how would you inspire people to get involved, to help?
I'm trying to figure that out. To me, I think part of what we need to do is, sorry, I keep walking around. I want to see if there's, I want to make sure there's services available. I mean, sometimes there's like families that are out, and there are a lot of resources out there, but making sure people know what they are, and trying to address people of what are the things they need, you know, and it might be social services, it might be food, it might be something simple. Now, what do you do with the people that don't want to change? That's kind of another story, and I don't know. I guess I'm inclined to keep working to try to get the community to work out what they have and make sure everyone knows about it, and also look at maybe we do some code changes so we strengthen some of our, you know, vagrancy laws, you know, and then I would rather, you know, okay, there's this threat, but here, we can help you. There's this program you could go, you know. And, you know, one of the best examples I know of is my house over in Wasilla. It's a nonprofit that's done amazingly well, and I have an appointment actually to go see them in a week and a half. But so that's all I've come up with so far. But anyone else?
Sorry to make some comments. But I'm sitting here trying to think what Palmer needs and what Wasilla needs. And the first thing that comes to my mind is a facelift. But I think what that means is maybe painting the older buildings. So I'm wondering about that. It doesn't have to be, you know, stark colors. It could be natural colors, forest, green colors, teal, blue. And then I'm wondering, well, is there like a committee, and I know the city does the cleanup in Wasilla, but is there like a committee, or could there be a committee of beautifying Palmer, beautifying Wasilla, that addresses like a facelift need, and maybe the walking paths, and maybe flowers, and I don't know, kind of oversees that whole thing, and then even a feel of beautifying Palmer, because to me it's just kind of drab. I'm sorry to say that to Palmer residents, but we have the drab problem too downtown. So that's just a suggestion. And I'm wondering about that.
I just have to say.
I know some years ago. Well, yeah, go ahead.
I see Palmer is really, I haven't spent much time in Wasilla at all, but Palmer, downtown Palmer is beautiful. I mean, they have the lights up, the flowers out, they have watering the flowers every week. I mean, every day, I don't know how far. I mean, they've got it, Palmer, they have it good. So I just gotta say.
Well, one of the things that we did do years ago, there was a downtown improvement plan. I believe they got some grants, and they worked real hard on our downtown area to put some facades on there and do some, you know, cleaning up of it.
I wanted to add on the Wasilla one. We created a landscape committee for that exact purpose. So I don't know if do you guys have a landscaping committee?
I don't think we do.
Yeah, Wasilla created a landscaping committee this year for that purpose, that the goal is to try and unify Wasilla, because I agree, Palmer, you guys did great. And that's one thing one of my concerns is I wanted to work on making the places they just need to look better, especially the downtown areas.
And I know we had Nate, our manager, before John Lucy, we had he took it to heart that he made sure that we spent money to get a street sweeper, you know, and that we made sure the Christmas lights were up. He spent more on Christmas lights. I mean, he took it very seriously. He really put a best effort out there, and that was 5-6 years ago. I think he was with us.
Over here, Steve.
Yes,
Hi,
sorry.
Gina.
Oh, hi, Gina.
We just, I don't like the way you respond all night. We just got a brand new mural painted on the side of City Hall that was just completed this last week. It was gorgeous. That was done by Audrey anyway, Rubeo. So we're continuing to try. It is an ongoing project, hopefully, but maybe the landscaping committee might be a good idea. Who knows?
It's gotten better.
So
I
much
agree.
good
It's
at
gotten-
that.
Well,
I don't read lips very well.
I was just going to say, mention the bed.
This is Pam and then you never call.
I was just going to say, maybe tell about the future plans with the bed and the, of course, the expansion of parking and of course, what's going on with the conceptual plan of the library, etc. There are things.
Well, that's right. We just put some money towards. They're trying to do is it a courtyard in front of the library, trying to make it a better looking, but as well as a more functional way to drop off books, etc. And that's part of the goal of with the railroad right of way is it's this big old stretch through our town, and if we can, talk about it, come to some kind of agreement, and let's get some permission to, because all that, it's all railroad land, we have to get permission, we get to pay for that permission. But, I think it's something that we should be working on and probably long overdue, that whole cruise control problem again. And I know sometimes some people bug me about how does it feel to be not contested for my races. Well, I spent more money than I ever spent last year getting on council. I spent more time. I spent more miles. Pam knows because she walked a lot of it with me. So, yeah. It's been an interesting year. Thanks, Edna.
In more ways than one, right?
Yes.
1996, right? You go back there.
She might have pestered me to run in 1996 the first time.
Over the last couple of years, we've seen in Palmer, especially out here in the Valley area, more of a very diversity, equity, inclusion crowd that is infiltrating the streets on a very regular basis. I myself have participated in 2 different pro-abortion rallies out there, just streaming what's going on, watching them march up and down the streets in front of the businesses there in Palmer. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of image Palmer is trying to portray. Are they allowing this to happen on a regular basis, and why? Because in just the last 3 years, I've gone to almost 2 dozen different events out there that really puts a painted image of what to expect when you go to Palmer.
Well, we came up with this motto about Palmer, Alaska at its best, and the problem with being popular is that you're popular. I know one of the things we look at, and I guess I'm going back to my whole on cruise control thing, is we look toward, okay, how does it go to do a permit? Well, there's a little bit here in the code here, and there's a little bit over here, and so we've been looking at that. This last year's been interesting. We ended up with a new clerk. Our manager's only been there a couple of years, a new attorney, which is good, a new mayor. But trying to figure out, okay, what is in our code? And a lot of times there's a lot of gaps. And so that's where we need to look at it, come up with something that's reasonable. We want to allow people to, have freedom of speech. We want to allow them to say things, but we also want to maintain our downtown that's interesting and fun, and people like to come there. So it's something we have been working on, and we'll keep working on. Okay.
So now there was a sheet of paper back there that had a list of the candidates on it, so it's a little bit of a program so you can sort of understand what the next section is. So if I could have all 4, I believe there's 4 candidates that are running for the city council, if all of you would come up. 3 of the candidates are running for 2 3-year terms, and then one of the candidates is running unopposed. And there's another candidate that is running unopposed, John Alcantra, and he is out of state, so he's not able to be with us. And I would assume Richard is not here because he's concerned about the quorum. So that's sort of where we are. So let's see, you have one mic? Can we use that mic, Jessica, by we give you the 3 mics for you 3 because you're off for one for the 2 C's, and then we'll go to you again. Okay, so you 3 decide who wants to go first. Do 1 to 3 minutes of introduction, and then pass on to the next. And then we'll have some questions, and we will go from there, and then we'll let Tom do things at the end. Okay. So if you get tired of standing, you can sit, or you can stand. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead.
Let's go first.
Yeah, go ahead. You're current.
Hi, I'm Alina Anzilotti. I've lived in the Valley for over 25 years and Palmer for the last 8. I was appointed to the Palmer City Council by Mayor Carrington this past January, and I am running for a 3-year seat on the council. If I were to be elected, I would continue with my goals of remaining accountable to people and representing them well. I'll be the first to admit that I'm new to this. I don't know as much as a lot of other people, but I can promise you guys that I'm passionate about it and I'm learning, and I really want to do this job well. And I am a supporter of small government. I also want to see a lot of people get out and vote because our voter turnout is notoriously low in the city of Palmer. I've been working with the mayor and other groups to mitigate the homelessness and vagrancy issue that's going on in Palmer, and I'm sure you guys have all felt the effects of that, and Palmer's a wonderful place to live, and I want to keep it that way.
Hello. Hey, my name is Josh Tudor. I've lived out in Palmer for about 15 years now, and been raising 3 wonderful kids here now. They're getting older, they're teenagers now. And I started the business about 10 years ago, moved out to Palmer as soon as I could. And so we've been in downtown Palmer business-wise for about 9 years. And one of the reasons why I'm on city council was I was getting more involved with the community. I was on planning and zoning for about, I think it was a 3-year term. I just started my 4th year when the openings opened up on the city council due to the recall. So I moved over there, and I've been working with these great folks on city council ever since. And my main philosophy is I'm trying to keep government small, trying to make sure that it stays in its lane, because I feel like for a while there, city government was getting way too political. And I don't think that city government should be like that. I want city government to focus on the basics of core things of what city governments focus on: law and order, making sure that utilities are working well, make sure the streets are paved and working well. That's what government should do. Coming from a business owner's perspective, I always kind of look at things as, as taxpayers, you're kind of like investors in a business, and it should be one of those things where you don't feel like, oh my gosh, it's going to burn down if I don't go to this meeting. It should be kind of one of those things where you feel comfortable with the management team, that they're able to make sure that your taxpayer money is spent properly. And so that's the way I look at it. I want Palmer to continue to grow, but have that small town feel. And because I want to make sure that generations from now, and that people can have good jobs without having to drive all over to Anchorage. I want to make sure that we're attracting new families to Palmer, or if somebody wants to move to Palmer to retire, that they have a great time living there. My kids, when they were growing up, and we would have those, like the Calling Days Parade, those other parades, my kids would play in the trees out by the Valley Hotel. And I want to make sure that generations from now, other generations can look back and go, I remember when I used to play on those trees, watching those parades. And we can do that by embracing our traditions and the history that we have as a community.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Cecilia, Corbon-Bradford, and I was born in Anchorage but raised here in the Valley a long, long time ago. I went to elementary, junior high, and high school, college at AMU, APU, and I went to work for the FAA, big government. And I started out as a clerk typist, and I ended up running the Great Lakes region, which was one of the largest airports. Chicago O'Hare at the time certainly was a challenge. So in my career, I've lived all over the United States. I came home. This is my home, and I love it. In the FAA, I work with communities of all sizes, airports of all sizes. The best thing we can do is have the community involved, and that is all levels of the community, from the young to a senior. And what I heard when I moved home and I thought I was going to retire and just enjoy myself, and I got involved in Rotary and the Moose and the Elks and the Quilts of Valor, because it's our job to give back. We've gotten so much that we all need to give back, and there's so many opportunities. Whether it's committees with the city council or whether it's these organizations that are all service organizations. And I'm just so impressed. Palmer's a small town, but when you start adding up all the people that do service work and give back, it's really heartwarming. So what I see when I came home was a lot of changes. It's grown, and yet it's stayed the same in some respects. And I am totally for getting that railroad track out of there and making a bike trail or a walking trail or tying the communities together a little bit better. It's an eyesore. And I thought, oh, well, you know, we can twist the arm of the railroad. Well, now I understand the state owns it, so we really should twist their arm. So that's something that would really help in Palmer. The other thing is I was deeply impressed by all the activities that Palmer now has. People are coming every weekend, but we need to work on the parking, because for a local, I couldn't even park anywhere close for the parade. So you'd have to walk a couple miles to get there, and I'm like, no, we need to work on that. We have enough events to where that needs to be a focus. The homeless situation, every city has it, and it's getting worse. And it's getting worse because there's more drugs involved. So we do need to do, I'm for bringing people together. I mean, like I said, I've worked with lots of different communities, and you need to have not just different voices, but you need to have different organizations that have different goals that can address certain problems. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution to the homelessness situation. I lived in a town not much bigger than Palmer in Alabama. They did not allow a single homeless person in their community. The police took them down to Huntsville, which is a bigger city and had more facilities for them. And the churches were very involved. My pastor rode in the police car every night to see what were the problems in the community and how the churches could help. So we can tap that resource because Palmer's rich in that. So those are just some of the things that I see, and I want to be involved. I've never been in politics before, so it's kind of scary for me at this point in my life, like, why am I doing this? But my whole community is behind me, so, and I'm in a senior community, so that gave me a lot of, support and feeling like I'm doing the right thing. So thank you for listening and being here, because that's really important. If you have any questions for me.
So you got why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Tom Ojala, and I'd like to thank Edna, Mayor Edna, for inviting me tonight. So I've lived in the Valley for about 37 years. I went to Pioneer Peak Elementary, went to Colony Middle, went to Colony High. Let's see. I've worked for the Army. I'm a contractor for the Army for about 15 years now. I decided to get involved with politics because I just didn't like the way it was going, especially in my hometown. And I finally decided to get myself involved with it. So, let's see, what else? I mean, man, we got a lot of issues that we're trying to work through. I'm a current member of City Council. The homeless is a big problem that keeps coming up. Last meeting we had, a lot of business owners come in saying they're kind of being accosted by the homeless, and an issue and they're kind of fearing for their safety. We got to figure out what to do about that. And it's kind of hard because homelessness is you just say, well, they're homeless, and you throw them out there. But they're like kind of a case-by-case basis. Everybody's homeless for a different reason. Some people want help, some people don't. So I feel like that we have to try to help the ones that want the help. And of course, then, you know, you want to help everybody and the government gets bigger and everybody gets bigger. I don't really want to see that. I'm not sure it's the government's place, but right now it's also the government's problem. It's a community problem. I also would really like to see public safety. You know, I'm a big public safety proponent. Fire, police, boy, they're sure trying their hardest out there with the police right now, trying to deal with all kinds of issues, especially with the homeless problems and all the attitude to fund the police and all that kind of stuff. And I just got involved because I got sick of seeing all the nonsense. You know, it's nonsense to say that stuff about our police to protect us, to put their lives in front of ours. So I guess I think that's about all I got to say.
Okay, we have some questions from the audience. Jessica has
I have a question for Ms. Corbon-Bradford. Is that correct? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes.
We were discussing, I was on the Palmer Planning and Zoning Commission for a while, and there was a discussion, and it's also in the paper about taking out part of the MatSu River Park because they wanted to expand the airport. How do you feel about that?
Well, let's see, I've been retired for a long time and I've tried to stay away from aviation as much as possible. But right now, I don't know if you've realized it or not, but the old MatSu Bridge has become a homeless encampment. There were a lot of tents there. I thought that would be kind of cold myself, but so yeah, I can't address that because I haven't really studied it to know. But here's what I told every small airport: you have to buy land because you're going to grow, and so. That doesn't surprise me because Palmer is doing some amazing things in their growth at the airport. I'm very impressed with it. General aviation is my heart and soul. And so, you know, it has to be worked out with all the correct parties at the table. And that's just how you take it, one step at a time, one bite at a time, one issue at a time. But there's a resolution there. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed the name of the last gentleman who spoke.
Hi, my name's Tom Ojala.
Tom Otilla?
Oh, it's Ojala.
Otilla.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
You want to take the stage, sir?
Hey, take this. Just in time to take the microphone.
They just got done introducing themselves, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Richard Best, running for City Council. Kind of an opening introduction is what you'd like for me to do. Born and raised in Alaska, moved to the Valley in '99, started getting involved in local politics in 2001. Ended up getting on planning and zoning, and then it all went downhill from there. Just being involved in the community. That's what we all are being up here participating in. So.
Questions from the audience?
Over the last few years, we've watched a the City Council of Palmer has gone through a lot of controversial issues, and it's amazing watching the agenda from like MatSu Moms from Social Justice that was manipulating what the council was actually doing there in the room. What makes me concerned is what makes you any different than the past players that have been there before? Are we to expect these kind of backroom deals to be made and then launched on the public at the very last second? Or where is your stance on community openness like the Open Meetings Act requests of you to do?
That's a pretty wide open, because there's so many little parts and pieces to that. But let's go back to remembering we had for years Eugene Carl Haberman, who was always making sure that the public process was being followed. And his stance was that he just wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to hear the same information. I think that's an important part that all of us would like to believe happens. But I would think that with good intention, people were being involved, and they happened to just not pay attention to what they were doing. And when you're an elected official, you have responsibilities to make sure that we're being very open. The City of Palmer Council for many years has taken that to heart, and we have actually gone over and above for the most part. If there's 3 members, well, we make sure that there's not a fourth in anywhere. If there is somebody that has a brother that's involved in something, you know what, we're going to be stating it on the record and asking to be recused. That's just, it's not required, but that's what we have always done, just because we've been very conscious of it. And we just happen to get some folks that hadn't spent a lot of times on other boards, didn't have a lot of experience, possibly, with, and like I said, good intention, kind of got themselves wrapped around the axle and just couldn't admit it.
So that's probably one of the reasons you see me up here. I want to be a voice for some of those who were caught by surprise and have talked to me. I don't know all of the issues and the history, so I'm kind of coming in fresh and excited. And only 15% voting means that we have to communicate. We have to do a better job of making sure excuse me, that all age groups, all the members of Palmer hear the messages and are part of it, and will speak up if they have issues. They're not afraid to speak up. That they have all of the members that they can talk to and that are available to them. And sometimes it's just communications. We just need to work on our communications.
Yeah, I just have to mirror that with, I'm here, a lot of us are here at Tom's here because of that breach of trust. And so we're very cognizant of that. I remember even when I was on planning and zoning, Brett Hansen, the director, kind of freaked us out by saying, if there was ever 3 of you guys at like the fair, one of you guys got to leave. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I always looked at it kind of like that. I was a little bit overzealous on that. But I always look at it as it's a very important for the public trust to understand what the processes are to make sure that we're being ethical, because we live in a time where we have a lot of elected officials not being ethical. And so I always think that city government should set the standard for how ethics and how politicians should be, because we're the ground level closest to everyone's government that there is. Because you can call us on the phone, you can text us, you can email us. We all get texts from other people all the time about various issues, and so we take that public trust very seriously.
The city attorney has laughed at some of the questions I've asked her, like, am I allowed to do this? I don't know. And there's definitely a stack of emails and texts that I have sent her just to make sure that I'm okay to do something or say something or go somewhere. And I have seen just the carefulness that the new members of the council have, just the precautions we've taken to make sure that we're being open with you guys. And I asked the mayor when I got here, is this okay that we're all here? And I've just seen a lot of careful consideration with that issue, especially since all the drama. So.
I really like that question that he asked. Josh is right. This is one of the reasons why I got involved. I absolutely believe that we represent the people, and that transparency is a keystone to that. Transparency of what we're doing. Talk to us. If you want to know how we're feeling about something, I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you right to your face, whether you want to hear it or not. But I'm certainly, but I think that's important. Then you know what your representatives are thinking, and you want to make sure that they are representing you. If you talk to me 5 times, and you don't like 5 things that I say, maybe I'm not representing you and you want somebody else. But maybe I do tell you 5 things that you do want to hear, and you realize I'm here for the people, I'm here for you.
Anybody else? Anyone else have any questions? Okay, if you each want to take about a minute or two and wrap it up and encourage people to vote for you, and any last things that you didn't get a chance to say that you want to say, okay? Tom, you want to start since you got the mic?
I sure will. Let's see, wrap it up. I'm new to this game. There's been some leaders on the council that have helped us out a little bit, trying to figure out how it goes. I'm definitely grateful for everybody's help. Like I just said, I'm here to represent the people. I'm here for transparency, and I'm here to represent the Palmer community and the values that I feel that they represent. I've been here a long time. I think I got a pretty good pulse on what it is our community is looking for.
I didn't really think about this part, but I really love Palmer. I've traveled around the world, and like Cecilia was saying, this is home. I come back to it, and I just love the community that it is. And I work for a small business downtown, and I've seen a lot of change, and I've seen a lot of tradition, and I think it's important to find a balance between that. Growth is awesome, and Palmer has definitely experienced a lot of growth in the past few years, but I also know that, like the mayor was saying, everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants a voice, and it's important to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get their voice heard, and I want to be here for that, and I want to be accountable and represent this city well, and I would love the chance to do that. So.
Yeah, I definitely just want to encourage everyone to get out and vote, because I know sometimes some of the elections, the voting numbers are pretty low, and it's really important. I can't stress it enough, because again, we can't exactly call the president and get his voicemail, right? But you can definitely call us and get us on the line, and we'll listen to you. I know I've had many meetings with business owners and some private citizens talking about some of their worries about Palmer, from parking to the vagrancy issue that we're experiencing. And we're all working really hard to get that taken care of, because we want Palmer to continue to be the amazing town that it is. And so, what I'm trying to do is just bring some common sense back into Palmer. I'm not looking to expand government. I'm not looking to raise taxes or any of that. I want to keep taxes low. I want to make sure that Palmer continues to grow, embrace our traditions, and be a place that people want to come to. I mean, we have an amazing population. Everyone's so great. We have amazing views. I always take that for granted. And it's one of those things where we need to really highlight that, so that way we can just keep being an amazing town and continue to grow. Thank you.
So I ask for your vote because I want to be your voice. I mean, it's really simple for me. I'm not there for me. I don't need to be in a city council or any other position, but I want to be there for you. And that's kind of what's driving me, is you're the heart of the community, the people in Palmer. It's my home. The mountains are the reason I came back to Palmer, and I love it, and I don't want it to change radically. Yes, we have to change and we have to grow, but we don't have to grow in the wrong direction. And that's where your voice is so important. So thank you. I'll take all the votes I can get. My family isn't quite that big anymore.
What I'd like to leave you with is that I'm a small government kind of person. I want to make sure that the city of Palmer government, the big G, stays in its lane. We don't get mission creep. We aren't all things to all people. There's a defined, limited scope that the city is supposed to do, and we need to adhere to that. We need to stay inside our lane and let other groups do what they need to be doing. So I appreciate everybody participating, and I look forward to many more years of these folks guiding us through this.
Oh, sure. That's the next part, announcements.
I forgot to mention that starting today, there's early voting at Palmer City Hall. So from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, this week and next week, you can go and cast your vote early, although you might wait for the rain to subside.
Thank you. Anybody have any other announcements? Anybody have any campaign things, or if you're walking and you need people to help, or phone banking or anything? Has anybody set any of those items up? Is anything? Okay. And if you're signed up for a text, you'll get a text in the morning, and I think a lot of you already know about it. But if you're interested in the question about the Constitutional Convention that will be on the November ballot, there will be an event tomorrow night starting at 6 o'clock with Jake Libby. He was here last week and announced that. And it will be, and if you haven't been there, it gets a little bit complicated, but it will be at the barn over off of Engstrom. And but you'll get, if you are on the text, you'll get a text in the morning, because we're going to encourage him to have the event. He said it probably is only going to be about an hour and a half, but he is on the statewide committee for the yes vote on the Constitutional Convention. And so if you want to look up the location, it's at the barn, MatSu.com. And you go down Bogart, hit Engstrom where the fire department is, go all the way to the end. The right is Aspen Ridge, and you'll turn right. Then the second street to the left will be Vale Drive. You'll take that to the end, and that then is Wolf Peak Drive. You'll take a right, and then you'll take a left on Crescent Butte. If you look, some of the driving GISs will try to take you to Eagle River, because there is a house in Eagle River that is on Crescent Butte Drive. And so don't go to Eagle River, okay? This is in Wasilla. And there is a map that's there on the website also. So, yeah, Gina, let's see, Jessica? Gina, I think, has a question. Thank you.
I feel a lot more talkative than I
Okay, good.
Did you mention, because I came a little late, about your presentation, the 1st of October, that you're involved in Chugiak? Mm-hmm. Did you mention that earlier today?
Sure. There is a lady by the name of Leah Salong, who is from Anchorage, and she came to our first School of Government meetings 20 months ago, and she decided she wanted to do something like that, like this in Anchorage. So she formed an organization called Brave Nation, and instead of doing like we are weekly or, twice a month meetings. She does conferences. And so the next conference that she is hosting is going to be at the Bridge of Hope, which is a church. And if you've been around for a long time, it's the old Abbott Loop Church in Peters Creek. I'm looking at somebody I know that knows Abbott Loop, probably, majority of you probably do. Oh, well, they have Gina too, probably knows. Yeah, and so you will take the Peters Creek exit, and so on the night of September 30th, there will be a meeting there in the evening. Then the next day, Representative Sarah Vance will be there, and Senator Hughes and myself. And my portion will be on hope for the future and how to get involved and things like that. And if you are on our Facebook, School of Government, there is a poster already there, but we will be sending out the link probably the middle of next week. So that will be going on then.
You need to register, it's $35 for the second day.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, so we'll be feeding you lunch and have some breakfast stuff and things like that, so anyway. Yeah, sure, I want to see, oh, you have the mic, okay, I was going to say yes, but you don't have the mic, so anyway, go ahead, David.
Thanks, Anna. And for those who have been following, since the word came out about the Dobbs decision and the Supreme Court's decision on pro-abortion laws and such, there have been 50 pro-life clinics and centers that have been targeted and attacked and have suffered damage, some arson, some firebombing and the like. And if you want to know how many people have been arrested from those 50 separate attacks, the answer is 0. Now, a while back, there was a Planned Parenthood clinic that was attacked. In 4 days, they had an arrest. And the FBI was declining to comment on their efforts to pursue criminal charges in any of those 50 attacks. They simply told the news to go and look at the public record to see all the arrests if there aren't any. So, in 2 weeks, Thursday, October 6th, we have our own pro-life clinic here in the Valley, the Harbor Center, and they're going to be having their banquet at Ojala Bible Church. So I wanted to just put that on your radar, make sure you know it starts at about 5:45 in the evening. I've been, my family's been, it's a great event. If you're able to come and show some support, they're on the front lines in their area, and unfortunately that is a challenging and not always a safe place to be. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, yeah, October 6th. So, any other? So I did mention earlier, a week from tonight will be the debate for Senate District N, which Senator Wilson will be here, and Scott Clayton and Stephen Wright. So the three of them will be presenting. And then I had a little third of a page that was back there. If you didn't get one, please fill it out and tell us what you would like to see for the October and then the November and December classes. And as I said, we probably will be looking for the school board candidates to come. As you know, there are 5 school board candidates, one in fact for this area, as well as other parts of the borough. So there will be 5 candidates, 5 vacant seats. I think there probably is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. I think there's 8 candidates in the race. They Kathy and Ole, who are running for the 1-year term, are unopposed, so they don't have any competition, but the other 3 races do have competition. And then also for the Assembly, both Assembly District Number 1, which is the Butte area, Sutton, Chickaloo, that area, That position is up, and Brian's not here tonight, but there is some of his information on the table there. And then also the Palmer area. And so we'll probably have them come too sometimes during the month of October. So, David, besides the Constitutional Convention, is there any other propositions on the November ballot?
I expect so. I don't have a list of.
Okay, I'll check that to be sure. I see they do have, and there of course will be some judges up. So we will want to start wanting to gather some of that information from some of the watchdogs for the judges, because there is a number of judges for you to retain, vote to retain or not retain. So I think the ballot is pretty lengthy for November. Anything? Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
Salt and Light student government is going to start meeting again. It's going to be once a month, the third Monday of every month, and it's going to be from 3:30 to 4:30, and we'll have a bite to eat afterwards if you want to stay for that part. So if you have any questions, you can find me.
Okay. And we've had a very active, as I said earlier, one of the, I think the most engaging one we had was how an idea becomes law. And we had the homeschoolers here. I think we had like 50 some homeschoolers that were here. And I happen to have one grandson that is, 13, and he is super competitive. And he was like, Grandma, why did they do that? What? That was a good idea we had, and they changed it. Why? So it was very, very interesting. So, and then one of the things we do, and I'll put my mayor's hat on, one of the things we do is we have mock assembly meetings last year we had 3 third graders, 2 third grade classes from Sharon and 1 from the Butte. They came, as well as we had, where'd Heidi go? There she is. Heidi's homeschool group came, and what we did, like for the third graders, is we asked them each to pick out an assembly person, so they sat up in the assembly seats. We had somebody that was the manager, somebody that was the clerk, somebody that was the attorney, and the classes, before they came, the teacher had asked them the question, if you had $100,000, would you buy a fire truck or clean up the amusement park in Palmer? And so the students then would come up and they would testify to the assembly. And then when that testimony was all done, then the assembly voted. And we have one girl who wants to be an attorney. And so she wanted to be the attorney at the diocese. And so then when it was over, I took her upstairs to introduce her to the borough attorney. And so we're just, it's not everybody that has gray hair that we are trying to reach. So we're trying to reach a lot of the youngsters to get. In fact, one of the fathers that was one of the chaperones came up to me after we had done the mock assembly, and he said, I've never been to an assembly meeting and never really been interested. I just came, because this is my son's field trip. But he said, I am going to be back, and he said, I'm very much interested. And so I thought, well, that's good. So there's we don't ask, how you feel about certain issues to let you be a part, because everybody has a voice, and every voice should be considered. So, any other last minute things? Yeah, Richard?
Just as a reminder, there's also a ballot initiative within the city of Palmer that I encourage everybody to vote yes on. This will extend the prohibition on an individual if they have been recalled from being able to automatically jump back into the next race.
All right, so did everybody hear that? And there's, so you're gonna have on the City of Palmer, you're gonna have a ballot question there, so. Too bad we didn't think about that first. We could have asked every one of them how they're gonna vote, huh? So, anyway. Okay, everybody stand and I'll close in prayer. So again, Lord, we thank you for this country that you have allowed us to live in, Lord, that you have chosen us at this time, Lord, to be part of your army, Lord, that will bring glory to your name. And Lord, we thank you for our community and for the people that have stepped up to the plate, Lord, that you give them wisdom and guidance. And Lord, we ask you to be with us now for safe travel home, and that each one of us will pledge, Lord, ourselves to you to complete the purpose and the plan that you had for us when you formed us in our mother's womb. And Lord, we want to hear that well done when we see you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, everybody out there, if you haven't liked and shared this video, oh man, I don't know what your problem is. You should have done it already. Take action, start being a part of what is going on out there. Keep control of your communities. It takes a joint effort of everybody doing their part and participating to make sure that we keep ourselves moving in a forward direction and not taking 50 steps backwards like places like Anchorage is doing. So thank you all for being here today. Please like and share this video. Also go to our website, politadick.com. Click that support button. We need your help. We have a lot of fees that are coming up, like restreaming free fees that you are able to watch today's candidate debate on YouTube. Go there and like it. Go to Twitter. Go there and like us on Twitter. You will find us on Facebook at Politadick, which we are here right now. And you can find us also on Politadick Unfiltered, which is not being censored by Facebook when it comes time for streaming our live videos. And while we're live, you can also find us on our website at politadick.com. Just click that live link. You would find this video playing as it's happening. Videos do not save there, but I am able to stream there whenever I am live. So if you are able to watch it there. But please go to all of our different social channels. Go to YouTube and like it. Go to Twitter and like it. Soon we're hoping to be on Rumble, and we are working towards that direction. And so we'll have one more outlet out there that will be completely uncensored, so that if you're on Rumble, please go like us at Politadick at Rumble. We are Politadick everywhere, and that is how you find us. Just type in our name and we will pop on up there for you. Rumble is the only one that we really don't have much on there yet, but we are working that direction right now. But it takes supporters like you to make that possible. Rumble does cost some money to actually operate, so please help us out. Your support, I was able to get a new video rig for the camera. You may have noticed that you're not hearing the microphone clunking noise anymore like we used to have all the time, and the static is pretty much gone. There's no more hearing that in the microphone. That is your support that made that possible, and I thank you so much for doing that. And your support is what's going to keep us on the channels out there, making more of these. I will be at the Constitutional Rally tomorrow night and here in the Valley, and I hope to see you all there. And it will be a nice little seminar for about an hour. We'll get to listen to what they have to say, and they'll be covering a lot of different subjects out there. And one of the ones I'm sure we're going to hear about is why we should be voting yes for the Con this year. Thank you again for all being here tonight. Please once again, like and share this video. It's supporters like you that make sure that Facebook doesn't censor us. The more you share it, the more people that'll have the opportunity to see it. Have yourself a great